from workaholic to well-balanced in COVID. This video is for you if work has become your first priority over family, relationships, self-care, and social activity. You've had a hard time saying no to more projects, more time, and more opportunities. You've canceled social plans because of having more work to do or working late. You've been working weekends and late into the evening in an attempt to get ahead. You've checked your emails compulsively when feeling bored. You felt guilty or restless when experiencing downtime. You've worked on vacation. Your sleep is disrupted by anxiety or worry about your business. You've taken on more and wanting to feel stable financially. And when people ask how you are, you respond, busy. Do you worry that you're a workaholic? Studies indicate an increase in work addiction or workaholism thanks to COVID, restricting our after-work activities and lifestyles. Let's take a deeper look into how things have shifted. COVID has challenged our boundaries in the following areas: work, family, finances. COVID is responsible for symptoms like poor work-life separation, sleep disruption, loss of energy, increased fatigue, loss of creativity, increased workaholism, increased stress, limited opportunities for connection, social isolation, relationship conflict, shorter fuse, increased irritability, brain fog and inattention, and escapism. Can you relate? Let's take a closer look at each sphere that COVID has impacted and what we can do about it. Let's start with the work sphere, about workaholism. Workaholism can be defined as an addiction to work, where work feels like the top priority and there's guilt or anxiety when not working. It also describes serious struggles with work-life separation. So where is the line between COVID and workaholism? Even less work-life separation and working from home, increased workaholism and not having after-work activities available, loss of creativity and feeling stuck, brain fog and inattention. So even though we're working more than ever, people are describing a decline in productivity. Let's look at some ways to improve your experiences at work. Tip number 1, set boundaries. Schedule your lunches, your breaks, your do not disturb phone settings at night and weekends. Your best friend for workaholism, the schedule email feature. Even when you have a thought, don't send an email, schedule it. Model good boundaries for others by having emails populate on a workday, even if your creativity hits on weekends or odd hours. Tip number 2, set rituals to leave work at work. This may seem harder in having the commute from your office to your home not really exist. Are you powering down your computer, changing your clothes, separating work from home by moving to another space in your house? Do you restrict the space you work in, rather than having it bleed over into the couch where you want to relax? Can you pack up your items and put them away? One colleague of mine would pack up her things and walk down the hall to the front door and back, mentally transitioning to being home. Whatever ritual works for you, give it a conscious try for 30 days to see if it makes a difference. Tip number 3, go lean on lists. A popular exercise from our Amazon bestseller, Perfectioner from Workaholic to Well-Balanced, this may feel even more relevant when battling brain fog. Our minds can only remember 7 plus or minus 2 things at a time. Let's look at how this exercise works. I want you to imagine all the things you'd like to accomplish in the next 6 months. Write them down. Maybe it's things in your work sphere, maybe it's personal, maybe there's a goal with your family. Go ahead and spend some mental energy for just a second writing down some of your goals for the next 6 months. Now I want you to narrow down your goals to the top 10. 10 for work, 10 for home, it's all combined together. Circle those top 10 things on your list. The challenge for this next part of the exercise is that I'm going to tell you that if these are truly your top 10 priorities, nothing can be added to the list, at least not until something on that list is done. So if these are truly your top priorities, you're not adding new projects, new ideas, new events to your calendar. You're going to focus on these top 10. If a task does not connect back to the top 10, you're putting it off until the top 10 are done. This is going to cause a little bit of anxiety for those driven professionals who are doing this exercise, but I can assure you it's going to help with that brain fog. You're going to have more focus, more attention, and more purpose, knowing that you're connecting to those top 10 values. Last but not least, carve out time for creativity. It's not about arts and crafts as much as it is about honoring the time you get your best ideas. Adam Grant speaks about 20% of your work week being allotted for creativity. Are you a morning person who likes to get things done early? Are you a night owl with your best ideas after the quiet of others going to bed? It's worth taking a look at reworking your schedule to carve out time for these moments of creative thought to support you, your business, and your family. Speaking of family, a second element impacted by COVID, or second sphere, is family. We've established that there's poor work-life separation. Working from home, those of you with kids might have had to homeschool at one point. The added stress of balancing out added responsibilities is increasing irritability and creating a shorter fuse. Snapping at your kids by leaving dishes in the sink, coming unglued by the piles of laundry. It's a lot to manage on a good day, let alone in a pandemic. This leads to zoning out and escapism. When overwhelmed or feeling stuck, we feel we want to escape into something easy or effortless. The final area of the family sphere is to note relationship conflict. Maybe between you and your kids, you and your partner or spouse. Perhaps it's too much togetherness, or you can't take a break from one another. Or isolation or loneliness, and not being able to see your family in person very often. Here are some exercises to help. Number one way to address these challenges is by redefining self-care as rest versus restoration. Commercialized self-care of vacations and spa days aren't available during COVID, financially or from a place of safety. If we were to redefine self-care as rest versus restoration, something amazing happens. We talk about what makes us feel rested. Maybe it's staying in your sweats all weekend, not making plans, binge watching a show. Yet equally important is restoration. What invigorates you, restores you? Perhaps it's being in nature, petting your dog, listening to music, dancing around the house. I want to encourage you to revisit what you used to enjoy as a kid. Maybe it's about flying a kite, having a picnic, playing with Lego. Once you get the juices flowing on possible self-care activities, I want you to challenge yourself to have some ideas for each of these 4 categories. Solo quiet, like reading a book, writing, knitting, meditating. Solo active, like taking a walk, stretching, dancing around the house. Together quiet, listening to music, watching a show, taking a drive. Or together active, cooking, an exercise class, or learning something new together. By having ideas that fit all 4 categories, you have a greater likelihood to remain flexible in the face of fatigue, picking the activity that works best to restore you. What I appreciate about these exercises is that they don't cost a lot of money. After all, our last sphere impacted by COVID is the finances arena. What if the rise in workaholism is due to financial insecurity, our changing economy, fluctuating revenue? What if we find ourselves reacting by reducing our spending and having increased anxiety? Have you noticed anger and a desire to control around a fluctuating bank account or compulsively checking to see what funds are available each day? This leads us to operating from a place of scarcity. Due to the uncertainty and the unknown, we find ourselves worried about the what-ifs. What if I get laid off, fired? What if I lose my job, lose my contract? What if I can't pay my bills? Based on this stressful experience with finances, we want to get our power back. Grab a pen and paper and try this writing exercise. Ask yourself, what is my current relationship with money? Allow the thoughts and feelings to come out on paper, unscripted and unfiltered. What themes do you notice? Question 2, how do you want your relationship with money to shift or change? Again, allow the thoughts and feelings to pour freely. What's one thing you can do to get yourself one step closer to a healthier relationship with your money? By writing out some answers to these 2 questions, we can now move on to a fun quiz. Are you ready to look a little deeper? There are money scripts that provide messaging on how we behave with our money. Let's take a look at a fun quiz and record your responses. This is a little more playful, so hopefully it opens up a conversation about your relationship with money. Quiz question number 1. You get a bonus at work. You decide to 1. Buy that pair of shoes you've been eyeing. 2. Put it straight into your 401k. 3. Text your besties saying, we're going out and I'm buying. Or 4, what bonus? You haven't checked your bank account in weeks. Quiz question 2. You're calculating your quarterly taxes for your business this year and find yourself 1, feeling confident that you put enough aside when taxes are due. 2, you're hoping for a tax return to fund your next much needed vacation. 3, you're starting to sweat. Can't you put this off till next week? Or 4, excited to upgrade to that latest phone you've been wanting. Quiz question 3. Your parent wants to sit down and talk about their estate planning as part of their retirement. You respond by 1, brushing them off and saying you're busy for several months. 2, giving advice on what they should do with all their money. 3, asking how you can help them celebrate their hard work. Or 4, find yourself worrying about how to maintain the estate if they ask you to. Last question, quiz question 4. You stumble across a video on the importance of running financial reports as a business owner. Your reaction is 1, determination to work even harder to see those numbers grow. 2, an upset stomach and your mind going blank. 3, anticipation about your next big purchase. Or 4, eagerness to invest your profits for your future. Are you curious about what the quiz means? The responses to this quiz are capturing the 4 scripts in action. Here are the 4 scripts. Avoid it. I don't want to talk about money. These folks don't ask for raises or promotions. They might minimize their abilities and paid opportunities, and it might require workaholism to make ends meet. Script number 2, worship. The more money I make, the happier I'll be. You may experience hoarding, may spend large amounts to show love to others, and there's also an increased risk of workaholism to pursue happiness. Script 3, status. My self-worth is tied into how much money I make. Desire to display wealth publicly. You're more often to see this in young adults, and it's a mentality of work hard, play hard. The last script is vigilant. I can feel in control of my money. These folks don't spend money lavishly or gamble. There's a high anxiety about money, and there's difficulty enjoying money due to feelings of guilt after significant purchases. Which script do you relate to most? Which script do you prefer? What's one thing you can do to get yourself one step closer to a healthier relationship with your money? Workaholism continues to impact work, family, and finances. Are you ready to celebrate work-life balance and leave workaholism behind? By practicing solid work boundaries, redefining self-care, and healing your money relationship, you can find yourself one step closer to balance. Grab our Amazon #1 bestseller, Perfectioner, From Workaholic to Well Balanced, and subscribe here for even more tools. I look forward to seeing you in future videos.